I had a bunch of balls in the table, and he had the 8 ball, so he needed to hit in a specific area, right? And I told him, he's like, "Oh yeah, he was kind of playing around with me. He's like, oh, I'm about to win, man. You have all these balls." He's like, man, all I gotta do is just wait for you to miss, and that's it. And then so it's like, and then he did miss, right? And then he didn't make it. So I won the game. So, to me, it was a good experience for me, because I was like, hey, if you just keep on believing, you keep on pushing, you not necessarily have to be the best in the game, just one at a time. And no matter if you're facing a stage where you're like, shoot, I mean, I might not gonna, accomplish it or make it happen, like, you just got to continue to one day at a time, push forward and stay focused. So
on my $1,000,000 hustle.
The $1,000,000 Hustle Podcast, where we keep it real, I stated entrepreneurship wisdom. Learn to think like a millionaire and hustle like you're broke. Here's your host, Billy the Kid, aka Billionaire.
Think like a millionaire and hustle like you broke. This free game to change your life, you better so. Think like a millionaire and hustle like you broke.
Welcome to the $1,000,000 Hustle Podcast, baby. It is your boy Billy the Kid, aka BDK, aka Billionaire. And yeah, I'm lost for words, man, because I just interviewed Jimmy Esparza, man. Such a great, genuine dude. And the stuff that we talked about, so I've met him in person. We've had conversations, and if you're not following him, go follow him on Instagram, because he over-delivers a lot of value just through social media itself. But then today on the podcast, guys, so I can't wait for you guys to listen in. Real quick, what I wanted to share with you guys today was I'm looking at doing some different investments, and I'm not going to tell you just yet exactly what it is, but I cannot wait to share it once it is official. I'm actually in the process of finalizing the paperwork, and all that is just exciting, man, because that, and actually we talked about that today, was at the end of the day, like, what, I believe that anybody can make money, anybody can, but then are you able to grow it, right? And that's one thing that Jimmy and I talked about today was, once you get to certain levels, you have to be able to do that. So I'll give you guys a little more info later, because it is exciting. But besides that, guys, let's see. By the time you listen to it, it'll be $1,000,000 MINDAY. Today is Thursday. That's when I do the recordings. But I had a one-on-one, had a lunch, and it's just amazing. Get out there, guys, and talk to people, man. That you can only gain so much from the current circle that you're in, and I'll let you guys be the judge of that, right? Look around your circle, and if you're not getting outside of that, then you're doing yourself a lot of wrong, honestly. But besides that, guys, moving on, grab a copy of my book, The Power of Being Uncomfortable, if you haven't, out everywhere, and then the audiobook is also available. Shout out to the Uncomfortables, man, the Get Uncomfortable Mastermind. We're actually meeting tonight. I had a couple people join it, so as of right now, it is closed. But it's just crazy how life-changing that has been. If you have any questions or anything, info@billythekid.com, and I can let you know when we have an open spot. And then lending, man, new era lending. If you guys need any lending for your next deal, whether it's a flip or matter of fact, the other end too, maybe hit me up if you want to invest with me. If you have some cash laying around that's not doing anything for yourself, then hit me up, because the bank is only going to give you so much percentage. And, if we lend this money for somebody else to make money, man, we can make money together. So if you are interested in that, please let me know. And, we can go through the legal stuff that we have to do if that's the case. But yeah, hit me up. Like, if you're interested in making money together, definitely that's an opportunity. And then on the other end, anybody looking for money to do their next deal, please hit me up. I'd love to partner up with you on the next flip or rental that you're gonna fix. Besides that, I think that's really all I got, man. Make sure you guys follow me everywhere. Follow my music, Spotify, Pandora, Apple Music, and all that. But yeah, let's get to the show, man, because today is a hot one, man. So without further ado, man, here is Jimmy Esparza, baby. Let's get it. Vamonos. Welcome to the $1 Million Hustle Podcast, baby. It is your boy Billy the Kid, a.k.a. BDK, a.k.a. Billionaire. I'm feeling like it today, man. So this guy that I have today, I've been following you on Instagram, on social media, and I will say, bro, sadly, there's not a lot of us. And when I say us, I'm talking from like a Latino perspective. You're literally the example, bro, of like what, like you're literally opening these doors for what it needs to be and what it will be. Because it's like a vision that I've had myself. So when I see you, bro, it's like motivating, and that's just I'm talking social media, but guys, like when you listen to his story and like all the amazing accomplishments and the wisdom that this gentleman has, man. So I can go on with the intro, but let's go ahead and get into it. Jimmy, how you doing, brother?
Hey, Billy, you're doing amazing, bro. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm excited to be here in your platform, and I heard a lot of good things about, your audience and people that are watching. And, I'm grateful to be here, brother. Thank you for the kind introduction. Appreciate that.
Thank you, bro. No, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Obviously, when a person like you that's always out doing something out of state or traveling and just killing the game, always busy. So I'm glad that we made it work with your schedule and everything else. So thank you so much, bro. At the beginning of the show, I like to take it back, right? Like, where are you from? And then work your way up to where you're at now, and then from there, we'll kind of dissect your story.
100%, bro. So I was born in LA County. So that's where I was born. And then after a few years after that, I moved to Mexico. So Tijuana, Mexico. That's where I was raised as a kid, all the way to third grade. And then we will travel and go to school to San Diego. And we used to cross the border every single day as kids after third grade. And but I lived in Mexico, and then in sixth grade I transitioned to San Diego, and then in high school I moved all from here for Yuma. So I've done a little bit of, we moved like probably 4 times since I was a teenager. But I think all those things really, I love that experience. I love that I was able to live in a different country, learn like the language directly from the country. So I could say I'm half Southern California, Mexico, and I'm half Arizona.
Yeah. And it's cool. You've kind of stayed in that region. So how did you end up in Arizona then? So that you were born in LA, which is amazing. And then, yeah, like why Arizona and how?
Yeah, in Arizona, I was about to be 16 years old, 15, 16. So I was underage. So my parents visited the funny thing is they visited the sunniest place on earth, which is Yuma. And they liked it. It was a little bit more affordable. You know how California, it's a little bit more, it's getting a lot of pricier. So, living there was, and then they like the agriculture life, because a lot of farming out here, and they kind of like that. It was a little bit more affordable, and they decided to make the move and bring us over here, and that's where I finished off my high school and a little bit of college out here.
Man,
Um,
and then so you mentioned a little bit of college. Like how much college did you get done?
I probably got like 2 years and a half. So I didn't even get to my associates. So I'm a college dropout. I barely got through the classes. And I dropped out, man. I went out and just went out and grind and look out to, I wanted to make money. I wanted to make, it's like, hey, I can't be sitting here for too many hours. I gotta go get it done. I heard enough.
It's funny. I definitely relate to that, bro, because yeah, that's a whole subject that we can have a whole podcast on. But I do want to touch a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Because the whole education thing, and you said that you wanted to make money instead. So, and I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna ask you like this, and I would love to hear what your opinion is.
Yeah.
Do you regret not graduating? And I think I know the answer.
Yeah, I don't think so, man. I don't think so because I think for a title, for title purposes, just to say that I have it, but no, not really, man. I'm grateful with the path that God put me, and there's a reason why I didn't graduate. But no, I don't really regret it. I've learned from top, entrepreneurs that have done amazing things that a title can't give me. So yeah, I don't really regret it. Yeah.
And that leads to that's the perfect transition to the next question. What because you've been around, man, like you've been around great people. I mean, that's how we met, was around great people, right? And
Yeah.
what is like the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten from somebody that is out there doing their thing?
I mean, there's been plenty, right? But I think one of the best advice is, and I got it from my mother, and it's holding on to God, man, because a lot of the times as you're transitioning and you're literally becoming a new person, you're facing new challenges, you get a little bit overwhelmed, you get a little scared, you get in different circles, but just having that confidence and tapping into that and just constantly understanding that we truly are the son of God, that it definitely gives you some type of confidence that nothing else could give you. And I think that's one of the biggest things that that I my parents and my mom taught me, and I think that's big. That's a big one and a huge one.
Wow, no, and that I have to agree with that, bro. That's like honestly, we wouldn't be where we're at and doing the stuff that we're doing without it. What is there like a certain thing that you do spiritually, maybe on the daily or just any habit that you have because I run a mastermind, the Get Uncomfortable Mastermind, and one of the things that I coach is that, I'm not saying they're gonna like make it without me, but I can promise that they're gonna go faster, right? Like they're gonna
Yeah.
learn, and not just me, like the whole group itself. And uh, the point that I'm making is that it takes it. All we're doing is we're exercising our mind, right? Like you need exercise physically. Well, the mastermind, when we meet, we're just exercising our mind. Uh, and so that would be the question: is like, what type of exercise, we'll call it, do you do, spiritually to be where you're at? Because yeah, that touched me, bro. That's every day for me. Got to say a prayer, and we wouldn't be here without them. So
Yeah, no, 100%. I think it's starting your day, to me is, with the prayer, right? Sometimes we're distracted, we get up and we want to move fast, but, having an understanding that, we have to be grateful, through the hard times, through the good times, and just having a prayer, having reading a little bit of scripture, or having a devotional book. Those ones are a little bit easier for you to start. And just to read a phrase from the Bible and analyzing it, and something that doesn't take you too much of your time. And I think those one of some of the practices that that keeps me. And also, every once or twice a week, I gather up with spiritual people, with church, or people that believe in God, and just be alongside with those individuals that also pursue the same thing, right, which is keeping the Holy Spirit active, keeping God in first place as much as they can.
mm.
Mm.
And I'm gonna, this podcast, bro. Like, it's funny you asked me, do you want the filter or the unfiltered Jimmy? It's so funny. Anyways, but I bring that up because I'm gonna ask you this question, and
Yeah,
me being a person, that is a believer. Honestly, I believe that I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for God, and
yeah,
but because the devil's also real, and
yeah.
I always get this question asked, and I want to hear your answer. Is so then, if God is real, why do negative things happen?
Yeah, it's I think if there were not challenges going along, right, just like in life, and if I wouldn't gone, I wouldn't, like, for example, you or myself wouldn't be wherever I'm at if I wouldn't gone for some type of struggles, on some lessons that that I don't understand, or some pain or something drastic that I went through. I wouldn't have been able to stretch or push myself to be with the current level that I'm at, or where I'm currently at, as a person, as a business owner, or as a father, or a husband. And I went, like, we go through challenges and we go through pains, and a lot of the times, we're stubborn as people, and like the Bible says, God is a God of discipline, and sometimes when you're starting a discipline, or something happens, like, push you and reinforce you to push beyond, and really go through the challenges, right? Because if we're comfortable and nothing happens, and nobody's going to move, nobody's going to struggle, nobody's going to be on an agenda, nobody's going to be in a calendar, nobody's going to be, because, right, life is good, nothing happens, right? And not necessarily doesn't mean that I agree with everything that's going on, but at the end of the day, sometimes I choose not to really question, whatever God has for everybody. So I think that's my belief for that. And and at the end of the day, that there's a purpose, so we just gotta continue to focus on the positive, and think bad things would happen, but we just gotta continue to keep as positive as we can, and knowing that there is a purpose behind what's going on, right? Because if you really think about it, it's like we are in the world, we're going to transition. If you truly believe in God, right, we're going to transition to what God has for us, right? This is not the promised land. Like, I mean, it's something to be enjoyable, be present, and it's a gift to be here and being alive. But at the end of the day, also, there is something better, past this life, which is a little intense, right? Something that not a lot of people look at it in that perspective, but if you really analyze it, that's my 2 cents on that. Yeah.
Love it. Love it, man.
Yeah.
And it kind of leads on to this next question, because I could probably, I like the times that I've spoke to you, and we'll get to what you do and everything. I can
Yeah.
pretty much speak for you that you could technically be done today and you're set for life, we'll call it. But why do you continue to put in the work, to do what you do? Because and I think it's a very intense question, because a lot of people, they might call it greed, right? Like in a negative sense. But I call it motivation at the end of the
Yeah.
day, and purpose. Like and that's why I'm asking this question now, because you mentioned purpose in there. But why do you continue to do what you do? And we'll push it to the next point of, like, isn't it enough already, Jimmy?
Yeah. To me, honestly, I push because I'm always looking out for the best, better version of myself, right? Because I've seen what starting here and being here, like how I was able to even eliminate habits, be more mature, and especially eliminating the bad habits I no longer need, and just pushing beyond. We've been able to serve more people. I've been able to mature more. I've been able to experience a lot more things, and things that I never even really imagined. So at the end of the day, I feel like there is, by you growing, there is other people that you're making an impact to, and that they're that you encourage them. Because I originally don't say this, but I'm gonna be a little bit unfiltered, but in being Latinos, man, like, we get inspired through people that sell drugs. That's a big thing in the culture, or hip hop culture too, like, and you get inspired through that, right? And from usually in the neighborhoods of where I come from, and where I was raised, and that's what kids and teenagers get inspired. So so to me, it's like, you could live that a good lifestyle, you could have the good things, you could, and there's a good legal good path that you could follow, that could give you, maybe a house for your kids, a card. Because sometimes you go way beyond, like, oh, I just need, like, if we're truly, if we could actually set our vision and set our goals, like, and we could ask, hey, you know what, this is how I want to set my life, we could really manifest that into reality. So if I'm gonna set a plan or something, I'm gonna do it as best as I can possible. That way, not only am I gonna be taken care of, but even my kids and my uncles or mother, and all my family tree is gonna be taken care of. And that's me not being selfish, because just like you said, I could be good, me and my few family, I'm good, and like I'll stop, and my payments are taken care of, and I'll chill. But what more good am I gonna do to the world? If I stop, like, I could become arrogant too, say like, I'm good, I don't need to do I don't need to meet this person, I don't need to sell this client. So it's like, I think that's it's important for us to continue to innovate, grow, and feel fulfilled with the purpose.
Mm. Wow. How does one find their purpose?
I think finding the purpose is it has to do a lot with meditation and prayer. For and I've heard this in the past. I don't remember who I heard it from, but we all have this burning desire inside of us, right? And it's all different. And sometimes we're like, why can I not do this, or why is it things like this way, right? Why am I not able to do certain things or whatever, right? There's something that sometimes bothers you, and you have this desire of creating something, and once you tap into that burning desire, you start to ask God and make sure that, hey, if this is the path, I promise I'll do well, and this is what you're trying to talk to me and trying to tell me. Um, and the best way to come about it, and I feel that I've been able to tap into my purpose, is that I've written my purpose down. Like, it's like, okay, I have this desire. Seems like I'm bothered. I got to do something. Like, this is going on, and I just meditated, sat down, and just started writing down what are my thoughts. I want to do this. I want to create this business. I want to make this much money. I want to give so much money back to charity. I want to have this nonprofit. I want to all this, and things just starts to I say you start to spit it out, right? You have it here, and then it comes
Yeah,
into
yeah.
writing, and I think that's one of the best ways to truly understand your purpose, right? And as you start to, because we do transition to become this more mature person, you start to define it a little bit more, and I truly feel that God is guiding your steps little by little and putting the right people to truly
Mhm.
fulfill what your purpose is.
Wow. And I, as I'm listening to it, so crazy because by experience and totally agree with everything, Jimmy. I can tell you guys that, like, it goes back to, like, if one thing doesn't work out, the next thing will work out 10 times better, because that's your purpose. And then once you start tapping into that, guys, like, the money just, like, comes, it's just crazy. So that right there, bro, like, mic drop right there, bars, man. You said you were gonna rap for us, where you're doing it. So
Let's do
um
it. Nice.
no, love it, bro.
Yeah.
And we're over here getting into all these awesome conversations already, but
Yeah.
what is it that you do, where's that burning desire and the purpose that you do, that is making you a good living, and you're helping others, which that was amazing too, bro. You could literally sit around, but why, when you can change the world? And a lot of people think, like, changing the world, it doesn't necessarily mean just money, guys. Like, that is part of the equation, right? Like, we help others, but even just you jumping on this podcast, bro, like, even if it's one person that listens to it that does something that you talked about, you're doing your job, and you do that every day. So I love that answer that
You.
you provided. But yeah, if you could tell us a little bit about your business and what is it that you do.
Yeah. So what I do is I own a solar company. It's called Renewable Power USA, and we help homeowners make that transition to renewable energy, and for them to have their own power plant, right? Instead of them renting from the electricity company, they can now have their own power plant, and they could obviously save thousands of dollars throughout the years and get tax credits. And there's a lot of good things that are going on. We do that for residential. We do that for commercial. So we have a team of operations, finance, and sales teams that we distribute the product. We consult, and that's what I've been doing for over a decade. But I started as just a regular door to door guy. I went out. I worked with Solar City and Tesla back when I didn't even know who Elon Musk was, but he was the chairman of the board, and that's how I started my career. I got in. I felt like it was a pretty cool product, and I really I think I tap into my passion because I hit one of my main three things is one, at the time I wanted to make good money, right? Like, straight up, I want to make, I don't want to make $30,000 a year, which I was at that point. I want to make more than that. Number two, I got into a space of technology, and I think it was cool. Like, oh, there's a different way of producing power and consuming power. That's pretty cool. That's something new. And then the third one, I liked how I was making an impact to the environment, and how also, we've been giving back to nonprofit foundations through the work that we've been able to do to give power to the world. So that to me is just, hit those main three things, and I felt good about what I was doing. I know I was gonna be taken care of, as far as financially wise, and I just ran with it, man. And to the day, aquí
Mm.
andamos.
Man, love it, bro. And I got a lot of questions on that. But the first one that I want to ask you that you mentioned in there was, it allows you to give back. And that's one thing I can vouch, man. Like I swear, anytime I'm in the room with you, whether digitally or like physically, hey, who wants to give back to this? Like I swear, you're the first hand. That's raised. Why? Why do you do that? And we're gonna get straight to it. Like, what do you get out of it, right? Because
Yeah.
I truly believe the more you give, the more you receive, and whether it's money, knowledge, that honestly, that's why I fulfill myself with the coaching stuff that I do, because when I see these, great human beings reaching these levels, that they reach just by one simple thing I might have told them, or the group itself, or just the one-on-one coaching, and so it fulfills me when I see that. So, and then of course, then I know there's gonna be more blessings that come from that for me, and then it's just this ongoing circle. So I would like to hear your answer. Yo, we'll be right back to this great episode of the Million Dollar Hustle podcast. Before we continue, I want you to go grab a copy of my book, The Power of Being Uncomfortable. It is out on Amazon, it is out on Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, Target.com, and everywhere else books are available. The great news, guys, is you could go to BillyTheKid.com and grab an autographed copy. That is right. I'm going to mail you an autographed copy right now. Audiobook is also available on Audible and everywhere else audiobooks are available. So go listen to it, go grab yourself an autographed copy, and I'll see you on the other side, baby. And now back to this great episode of the Million Dollar Hustle podcast.
Yeah, to me is if I find something that I think is going to do good for others, right, and especially has to do with somebody who has aligned with the principles and is towards like kingdom. To me, it's like, yeah, man, you got me. It's like, if you're gonna give back, you're gonna teach others, you're gonna help other people. Like I want to give back, and I think that's something that even when I was small, like I'll see my dad do that when he will take us back to Mexico to a ranch, like small village, un ranchito in Sinaloa, and he will take us, and he came out of this little village rancho, right, and then he went out to LA and he had his success, and he will go back, and I'll see him just give him a couple dollars here to the people, to the kids, and to that, and I just love that, right, and but now at the scale that we do it, I think at the end of the day is like, there's I feel touched, and yeah, just like you said, like if the more I give, the more God is good with me, but I don't really look at it. I just really um truly want to support whoever is in need of it, because if I have this abundance and I could give it, like, I'll give it, because it's about giving. Just like in my business, like we have had up to like 70 people, 60 people at once, and it's a lot of giving for me, giving time, giving resources, giving whatever I can, and I've seen the blessings that come out of that, so. And in this way, when it comes to finances, and it's like, hey man, if I have it, I could do it. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and then give back, to whoever I can to make sure they continue to do whatever it is that they're doing. So,
And that's so true, bro.
yeah,
The story you just mentioned about your dad, it just goes to show those of you who are listening, like it's an easy excuse to say, well, I don't have money right now to give, right? Like it literally can mean, like, I don't care how much you make. You can make $10 an hour or $10 million a year, but the 10% rule, right? Like if you could do as much as 10% of what you make, and yes, it can start when you're making $10 an hour. And I think a lot of people forget that. So I love that, bro. At the
thank
beginning,
you.
you mentioned you kind of made like a little joke about, well, money was the motive at the beginning, and
Uh,
I also agree with that, right? Like when I started rapping, I was like, man, I'm gonna make all this money and I'm gonna, help my mom, help, people around me. But then, and I love this, man, it's like full circle, because then it goes back to what we were just talking about, where spiritually, then you run into something called purpose. And it's beyond money. And then once you tap into that, then like I said, it's like you open this fountain, and you literally ask yourself, man, where has all this been, right? Like this whole time. Um, so the question that I would have for you is, somebody that maybe is at that stage where they're, just like, man, money, and it doesn't come as fast. Is it okay for that to be the motive at the beginning?
I think it is, because you'll be selfish if you don't do it, because for example, to me, I had the urgency to make money because I was already thinking about getting married, thinking about having kids. I didn't have him at the time, but I knew that's what I wanted. And I knew I needed to be a provider and I needed to be prepared as much as I, can. So to me, it was not just about me because it would have been about me. Like I would have been okay years ago, right? And I would have been fine, but it wasn't just for me. It was way beyond that. I think it's okay because, at the end of the day, the more you have, the more you could give, the more you could impact, right? And you can start smart, you can start big, but I don't think it is all relevant to perspective, right? To people, maybe $100,000 a year could be a lot. To some people could be, hey man, that's my monthly expenses or whatever, or $1 million. It's relevant to the mindset of the individual. So, for example, sometimes I go through a lot of challenges because once you start becoming, part of the smaller percentage of individuals and a group of people that that are able to tap into certain like funds or certain things, people around you start to kind of criticize it or start to kind of don't understand it, and you feel a little bit out of place. But then it's like, oh, maybe that's too much. You're working too much. You're asking for too much, right? But a lot of the times, if I put myself in this different circle with people, individuals that are even in a smaller percentage, to them, it's like, yeah, bro, that's what I spend in this, right? And or it starts to, and then your perspective changes, right? And I don't think we necessarily have to like agree with everybody around us. So I think that's been I don't know if I got a little bit off track, but
No, no, and
um,
actually, man, that I have some questions on that now. I love it, because
yeah,
it's crazy, Jimmy, what you just said. I keep mentioning my mastermind, the Get Uncomfortable Mastermind, because that, it literally what you just said, like associate, like there's things that we might talk about. Maybe a member's like, "What? I didn't even know that was a thing," right? Like, and somebody's talking about it, like if it's normal, like it's normal life, right? Like
yeah,
to travel to a certain place, and at in first class, we'll call it, when maybe their mind wasn't even to that level of thinking. So that's tough right there, bro. That's a great message. You mentioned people criticizing you, because that is what happens, and that's why things like masterminds are important, because you are surrounding yourself with people that think alike and more, right? But what have you done, Jimmy, in that sense of like, because there maybe you'll have certain friends that it's been tough to let go, but you had to because you knew you had to. Slash, and I just want to hear what you've done, or maybe there's certain ones that still lingering around, and you just know the conversations aren't the same. Like, what have you done in that sense?
yeah, man. That's a tough subject, but at the end of the day, it's a must, right? Like you have to do because you have to understand, what is your purpose. First, you gotta prioritize, where you're spending your time, right? Why you're spending it, where you're spending it. For example, me, I'm married, right? I have my wife and I have my kids and I have my business and then I have my parents and brothers, right? So to me, it's like if it's not within those areas, like my time is really limited, right? So so yeah, it's a little lonely, at the top, right? And not necessarily, but if you really analyze it, and this is what I was thinking not too long ago, if you really analyze it, is like, if as long as you have your family, your kids, your brothers or parents or grandpas or whatever who is that's really close, like, I think that's a good foundation to have. And the rest, yes, a lot of them will just come and go. And sometimes a lot of times as human beings, like we want to continue to be attached to these people and say, oh, well, he was a good friend, what he was a good, but a lot of the times it's like your values and your expectations and goals are not aligned. So sometimes you do have to, in a sense, step back or give that a break, for months or years, and then you could revisit. And maybe when you want to revisit, you guys really don't have anything else in common, and you're like, yeah, man, I mean, it was a good run, right? So I don't avoid people because I like to have conversations with whoever I can. But I am really selective with with my time, and where I spend it and who I spend it with, because that can definitely can make an impact in your life and your goals and whatever your purpose is as well.
Wow. Yeah. And so earlier with the company that you own, it sounded like obviously you have some great structure to be where you're at. Can you put us on game on what a successful company looks like as far as positions and certain things that you've done to be where you're at?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, it started in sales, right? Like I was, I wanted to bring in money, so it was just building the sales team, bringing the sales team, and have a financial person internally to help me manage and pay, everybody that was bringing in the sales and pay the bills, right? So, I developed the team hard, develop a group of. In the beginning, it was like 5 people, 6 people in sales, one person in finances and operations, and then just develop that as much as you can, and you start to scale. You hit a certain goal in finances and sales, and then you start looking into like, hey, how is my finances and my financial team and my operation team, are they able to carry all this extra work that I'm doing? And sometimes it's good to push from the sales and add some pressure on the financials and the operations, because you'll figure it out, right? Like you'll start hiring more people or bringing more people on board. um so I think having a good executive, then once you start growing, in the beginning, honestly, I didn't even know about these roles. I was just like, pay people, make sure the jobs get done, and let's sell a lot of deals, right? It's basic, nothing crazy.
Basic,
Honestly,
yeah.
as I started scaling, then I started to understand, okay, there's an executive team. There's the director, the manager, the sales representative, the chain of command. There is there's my financial team. There is the CPA. There's operations. Making sure that things are getting operated. There is the HR or recruiter, and then there's a CEO, right? And that's how you start building and structuring your business, and then everything has a little leg under it, like another row or some assistance of companies that we hired to help us. And in there's also a marketing team that helps you market, helps you collect data, help you distribute you, and help you do the necessary things to market the right way. So that's part of the structure that we build in within our organization that helps us build a 8-figure company. So but yeah.
Love it. And it's funny, like you said at the beginning, it's like just get it done. Those of you who are listening, that like listen to the message. And I'm gonna say by my experience, it's like when you need to maybe hire a certain thing or do a certain thing. Would you agree with that, or how did you kind of start structuring? Right, like at the beginning, you were like, all right, let's just make money and pay people. That's it, right? Like you said, and it's funny, but it's so true. And then what was that tipping point where you're like, okay, so if I do this, or how did you even run into that? Was it just by experience, or how was that?
Yeah, and then it's by areas, and I think everybody could identify themselves with some of the stories. But for example, in the beginning, I was making sales, I was recruiting, and then we didn't have the right system to pay people, so I was forced to pay people cash. But they'll obviously we sign off and everything, right? And it was all legit. But I was literally going to the bank just because the system was not in place correctly, and I was collecting the physical money, and I will pay them in cash. It was a fun time, but then I'm like, oh shoot, I can't be running around to the bank and making sales and recruiting and doing all this stuff, right? So then I was like, hey, my financial team, hey, you got to figure it out. It's like, because a part of the excuse was, oh well, things are not working with the bank. I was like, hey, you know what? I can't be doing these runs, and I cannot be going out and paying people. So I found that was a gap, right? And we fixed it. We developed that, right? And then when we started scale, and we started to onboard more people. Also, there was a bunch of sales guys that were coming directly to me, and I'm like, oh, I can only take so much guys, right? So I got to make sure I hire, the manager, and it's okay, manager, handle this guys, and I'll talk to you, and then I'll train them whenever I can. But we have to put a filter in order for me to protect my time and for me to keep on expanding and growing, right? So I think the pressure helped me to push me to hire and put the right people in place at the necessary time. So I think that's when you start finding out. But I think a good practice is understand the whole corporate structure, like how does that look like, who is where, and then you say, okay, so I don't have that yet, and that's costing me I'm spending too much time there where I shouldn't be spending there, so I need to place somebody there. So I think that's the best
Wow.
approach.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. Um, what are the and well, again, I have so many questions here. The next question, and since we're kind of still in that money area, what would be some financial advice that you could provide us? Just in, you know, I would say if you could give us two, like somebody starting out and then somebody who's really advanced and doing their thing already. Maybe even talking to yourself, as far as that financial advice.
I think one of the biggest financial advice that I've learned in the beginning is live with like 20% of your income, 20 to 15%, like as low possible as you can. But whatever you're not utilizing, like there's a percentage that you got to save, and there's a percentage that you got to put back into the business and into other into other investments. So I think that's one of the things that I lived off in the beginning. For example, for the longest, man, I lived in a like 1,500 square feet house, for years, right? And I had friends buying mansions and all that stuff, and I'm like, hey, I'm in a you know in a pretty pretty conservative house, and I was already making million plus a year, and it's like, well, I'm good. I don't really need anything extra, right? And I did that for years, and that does build a little bit of confidence, right? So start to live off, let's say 20 to 50% of whatever you're making, and if you want to live a more luxury life, then just make sure that your total income increases, so your 15 to 20% could be a lot more, because some people's like, oh, well, that's not too much, man, with what I'm making. It's like, okay, well, figure it out how you increase your total income, so this percentage could be a lot more. And that's in the beginning stages. And then I think that the next is just really understanding the diversification of funds too, of liquid cash, right? Like, because as the money comes in, because we're all going to have our good days, like learn how to distribute it properly, because we could all get into buying dumb shit, to be honest with you, right? And it happens to everybody. But then you start to distributing in the proper, in putting into maybe stocks, putting into maybe buying some more real estate, or having a savings for the business and things like that. Understanding, that that I think that's a little bit more on the higher level. Once you start making more like more than like $250,000 around there, then that's where you start to understand that. But if you're making a little bit less and just try to live conservative, not be super cheap with yourself, right? Still, incentivize yourself and your family, but just keep it conservative, and then eventually you'll get to higher levels.
Wow. So true. And it's crazy because if you do that, like I love that advice, Jimmy. Like I lived it as well. And I think if you truly, it's like that saying, something along the lines of like, live a few years how you don't want to live so you can live the best life that you can later, right? And it's so true. Like, I think a lot of people get caught up in the lifestyle, and especially and it's crazy because like you said, like I saw that too, where I would see people driving a nice car, or this or that, and they just had a modest job, but that's where they were putting their money into. And like you said, little, here I was, living with whatever shoes I could I could afford better shoes at that time, but just buying whatever shoes just to get by, and instead just recycling that money into the business or whatever else, right? So I love that. That's honestly, like, again, we could end the podcast right here and be done, because that's some great advice there. And then you talked about making an impact earlier, and I relate to that so much with everything that I do, whether it's my music, the coaching stuff. Why is making an impact so important to you?
Making an impact is really important for me because I'm a father and I'm a husband. I think it starts there, right? So I want to make sure that I truly become the best version of myself, because I have this thing. I still have to make sure my wife is in love with me, and she's like, wow, I have an amazing husband. And then I want to make sure my kids, they're like, wow, my dad is my hero. I don't want, I want to make sure I have that. And then, and obviously I'm a business owner and we have employees and contractors, and I want to make sure that they're also proud of who they work with and who's part of their team, right? And that's, to me, the one of the main things. I mean, the first one is obviously I feel like I'm also, putting my talent into practice, right? Because God gives us things. There's the story about, God gives different talents to different people. One of them goes, he buries them, right? And then and then the other guy, goes out and he multiplies it, right? And then there's a third guy. I forgot what the third guy does, but but these two stories, when they come back to God, God is like, I'm glad that you were able to multiply it and you were able to work it and you were able to do more. That's what I want you to do. And then he was upset at the person that he just hid his talent and didn't never do anything with it, right? So I think that's one of the also main things that I want to do is like fulfill my talent, fulfill my purpose, and make an impact for for the people that I love, and continue to, and I have fun doing it too, honestly. Like it gets me to experience so many things that I never thought I was going to be able to experience.
Wow, love it. And what are some sales tips you could give us, because the industry that you're in, and I think honestly, I mean, it's funny you said it at the beginning, like all I knew I needed to make some sales, right? Like if I wanted to make money, whether it was working for somebody or when you started your own thing. But obviously all these years of experience and all the amazing things that you're doing, like what are some tips you could give us as far as sales? Because honestly, that's the number one thing for any business.
We'll be right
Before
back.
we continue,
Go subscribe to Billy the Kid YouTube.
that is Billy, DHAKID.
Also, go follow Billy the Kid Music on Spotify
Pandora, Apple Music.
and everywhere else.
Music is available.
And now, back to this great episode. Let's go.
Hopping out the two, though, we're number 2, foe. Feel like Kobe, though I'm winning, need to do more. My mama sorry, college wasn't for me. Street smart, no degree, just like Kobe. Self-made boss with a suit like a mogul. I'm the new era, you see it on my logo.
Yeah, sales. I think you got to treat it like a sport, right? Like, so if so you got to make sure you're in atmosphere. You got to be competitive. Some people, get offended, like, oh, well, I don't want it too bad. It's like, hey man, it's like a sport. You'll make as much as discipline as you have, in sales. But just I mean, setting yourself apart from the guys that you're competing, right? Like having a personal touch with the client, showing them that you actually care. You're not just trying to, okay, buy it and move on, right? Like you do have to have some certain guidelines with the client, but also, hey man, like I'm here to, I'm here for you. I'm here to help you out. And if you're truly interested, I'll make it happen. I'll make sure, I meet all your needs and requirements. So just having that personal touch, listening to the client, I think it's really important. A lot of people do. And just, and just treat it as a game. Look at for example, like in solar, I look at the industry, like who is the biggest of the biggest. It's like, okay, what are these guys doing? Analyzing. It's like, okay, well, let's say these guys are doing, $2 billion or, $5 billion or whatever the case might be. I mean, it's like, I don't suck that bad. I could at least do 20 to 50% or whatever they're doing, so I'm going to set a goal to push, as much as I can. And let's say I make 10% of that. I mean, we're still doing pretty well, right? I make 20%, then, just analyzing your market, seeing what you're capable of doing, what others are doing as well, and taking care of your customer good. So I think that's key.
Love it. Great answers. Earlier too, Jimmy, you mentioned becoming a better father, husband, etc. What are some stuff that you do to do that? Because again, like I think it takes practice. It takes growth every day, right? Like for us to do that. What are some stuff that Jimmy does to become that?
So I tried, for example, with my wife, we have our once or twice honeymoon at the year. So we set a time that we're gonna travel 2 times a year, like it was our honeymoon. We're gonna travel to a different place or a place I would like to go. So I give her that time, and during the year that we have to get away. And then with my kids, I mean, my baby girl's 3 years old, so I try to be there as early as I can home and be present with her, play with her, and understand her, and showing, and bringing her with me as well whenever I can, even to work, and just kind of try to spend quality time with them. as much as I can, and looking for ways to just become better in those areas. So I think we also have we try to have dates, once a week. We try to keep it together as much as we can.
Love it. Great
Uh,
advice, man. And then with the business, how do you schedule things? And because I can, you seem very calm, collect, but I'm sure there's days where you wish you had three other Jimmys, right? So like what are some stuff that have worked for you to be able to run your business, to be able to run your family, and everything else that you are doing? Because it's 24 hours, and obviously we know families first, God, right? Like there's so
yeah.
many things that we have to attend. How do you do that?
So honestly, I've been fortunate enough to have I was just talking to my wife yesterday about it, like having a good team, a good assistant, and people that helps us and support us. So for example, and even in our house, like we have somebody that comes in and helps my wife with, work her, cooking or the cleaning and stuff like that. So we could give her some space. So whenever I'm there, like she's not all concerned and worried about it. And in the business, having a good assistant next to me that's helping me out with my agenda, my schedule, and really truly supporting, I think that protects her time and gives us time to really connect and really do the best that I can at and what I have to do. So just having the good team behind us and having the right people has definitely make a big impact, for us. And but yeah, man, I think that's one of the big things for us.
Yeah, no, love it, love it. And with parenting, Jimmy, what are some stuff that you are doing and that you will do? Because like where we come from and the poverty that we've seen, like we know what time it is, right? But how do you teach that to your kids and essentially, give them a good life, but also making sure that they're not I don't know, we'll call them brats, right? Like they're not brats, and like teaching them, how what it means to do the hard work, right? Because we know where we come from, man. So, what are some stuff that you do with your kids and that you will do? I have some teens already, and so I've always been mindful of that, and it is tough because you do want to give them the world, everything that you didn't have, but then at the same time, it's like let's teach them uh, what gets them that, right? Like, it you don't want to just pass something on and then for them just to go blow it off. So what are some stuff that you're doing in that sense?
So for that, I think teaching, like, I think, and learning from others, right? Learning from people that have had success and have their kids, and I learn and I hear them, say like, what, just be around them more. Like, work is always going to be there. Just make sure you're an important at times, but also teach them discipline. Teach them how to work, because at the end of the day, like, and I tell my wife all the time, like, I'm not gonna tell my kids, hey, you're gonna own all this. This is gonna be yours. I'm gonna like, no, you're not gonna own anything. You're living the life that you're living. Because we work hard. First of all, God gave us, helped us out, and because there was a lot of hard work. But I don't want them to live in expectation that they're gonna get everything that that we build or anything that we own, right? And maybe they'll probably keep some stuff, right? But I don't want to, you know, forgive them all, and until they could be overwhelmed. Like, they'll live their path, they'll create whatever they want to create, and if they need me, of course, I'm gonna provide them with what the more than the necessities, right? And experience, the work ethic that it takes, and be around different surroundings so they could all go out and create. Because I truly believe not only are they going to be able to do some of the things that we accomplished, but they should be able to go even on and beyond. Because that was one of the things that my dad would tell me all the time. Like, he was a hard guy. Like, it was tough. He's like, you need to make sure that you make this better. Like, you're not here to fuck it up. Like, literally, he'll tell me in Spanish, mijo, you're gonna make this better. You're not gonna fuck it up. You're gonna make it better. I was like, oh shit. Well, that was a little rough, but I did have it engraved in me, and I was like, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, and I think it's funny earlier the whole filter thing. You do have to have no filter with the kids. Like,
Yeah.
there's times where maybe friends, family might be like, "Oh, you told your kids about that," and it's like, "Yes, I did," and they just need to know what the real world is, right? Like, unfortunately, the the real world is not just rainbows, right? Like, there is things that happen, and I think if you, like you said, if you just teach them and talk to them and let them know, it's funny. I have a book back here.
Yeah.
Before I handed my kids their cell phones, this was years, a few years ago, but I read them that book, and it's I bought it from church, and it's funny when I say that it's about pornography, but there's no images, like nothing like that. It's literally, I bought it from church, and it just explains what pornography is.
Yeah.
And it's for ages, I want to say 7 to 10 or something like that. But reading that book, changed my kids to where when they did, they would come home and tell me, "Hey, Dad, these kids are so immature. They're over there hee hee hahing about this and that," and it's like, I already know that, right? Like, so I think that was like a great reminder for myself to know, talk to them, let them know, and at the end of the day, keep it real with them, because the world, otherwise, I mean, somebody else will teach them, and it might not be the way that you want to teach them. So,
Yeah.
love it, man.
100%, bro.
I have so many questions, but unfortunately, like, we have to wrap it up, man. You have so many great things that you have to go out there and do. So at the end of the show, Jimmy, I ask the same questions to every guest to wrap up the show. And so the first question that I have for you is, if you were to look at your younger self right now, what would you tell that kid or that teen? What would be some advice you would give yourself?
um I will say honestly, when I was a kid and I was younger, I will tell myself, keep on having fun. Like, you'll be all right. Don't stress it too much. When you're a kid, be a kid. When you're young, be young. And I think God, put us our own stories and our own failures and our own things that happen for a reason. And I think what I will tell them is just enjoy it, enjoy the ride, keep on having fun and being yourself, and you'll get to where you need to get to. So don't worry about that.
Wow, love it. So true. I tell my kids that now, man. Like, for real. Crazy. Love it, love it. And then if you were to write a book, what would be the theme and title of the book?
um if I would write a book, I've actually thought about it, and we will start one. And we were thinking about from the border to beyond. And the reason that that's a title, and actually we Tim Story, which you and I know each other through him. We talked about it, and we actually put it out there. And the reason that will be the title is because a lot of us have this border that we need to cross, because this keeps us from crossing this other path that we need to cross. And it's kind of like a metaphor for when I used to cross the border every single day, from Mexico to the United States. And I think sometimes a lot of the people don't get to cross those mindset borders that we have, just because we have limitations, just because we come from poverty, we come from, maybe, our family's not perfect, or maybe you have beliefs or whatever the situation might be, and we got to make sure we cross that and go beyond that and set our goals. So I think that will be a good book title that we will write.
Wow. No, I love that, bro. That's an awesome concept, and you heard it here first, guys. Love it, man. I
Yeah,
can't
no,
wait,
actually,
bro.
yes.
I can't
This
wait.
is
I'll probably be asking you about it too. I'll be your accountability partner. Be texting
yeah.
you about it.
No,
um,
100%, bro. I definitely gotta get into that.
Yeah, no, love it, love it. And then, so at the beginning of the show, I was explaining. I think it was off air, but I was explaining to you the $1 Million Hustle. It's gonna become a book, and it's just gonna be about whether you want to call them habits or just things that successful people like you have done to get to that mark and beyond, right? Like,
Yeah.
because I think that that's the hardest one, is the first one, and then after that you can really just repeat, and you have an idea of what you need to do to get to the double, triple that, and et cetera, right? So, with that being said, if there was three habits or three things that you would tell somebody right now listening, if you do these three things, you're not going to fail, you're going to get on your $1 Million Hustle, you're going to make it, you're going to be successful. What are those three things?
Uh, I will say number one, keep God number one. That's number one. Number two, focus. I think that's a lot of things that we all struggle with, right? Focusing on our mission and our plan, right? And I think this is number two. Number two will be vision, making sure you have a vision and know where you're going, how much you're gonna make, how much people are you gonna impact, what are you gonna do with that. So having got number one, having a vision, clear vision of where you're getting to, um, and then number three, it's focus. Just focus on that and make sure you become as tunnel vision as you can to hit that and go after it. And eventually you'll get it. Eventually you get it. You'll if you don't quit, you'll eventually get to where you need to get to. Right. I remember one time I was playing a game. We were playing pool, so I'm not really too good at pool table. And I have a friend that he knew how to play, and I don't know too much how to play. And I had I had a bunch of balls in the table, and he had the 8 ball, so he needed to hit in a specific area, right? And I told him, he's like, "Oh yeah, he was kind of playing around with me. He's like, oh, I'm about to win, man. You have all these balls." He's like, man, all I gotta do is just wait for you to miss, and that's it. And then so it's like, and then he did miss, right? And then he didn't make it. So I won the game. So, to me, it was a good experience for me because I was like, hey, if you just keep on believing, you keep on pushing, you not necessarily have to be the best in the game, just one at a time. And no matter if you're facing a stage where you're like, shoot, I mean, I might not gonna, accomplish it or make it happen, like you just got to continue to one day at a time, push forward and stay focused. So,
Wow, love it. And it's funny because I have every year I try to have a word, and that's gonna be. And I don't know when this will be released. It'll be sometime in 2025, but that is my word of 2025 is focus. So, anyways, love it, man. So true, bro. And then there's like a bonus questions because we're done. But I
yeah.
said, you're just an amazing dude, man. But I want to hear, like right now, if you lost everything financially, what is the first couple steps that you would take? Like right now, you walk out of your office, you're like, man, I'm worth negative $10 right now. Like, what are you doing?
Um, what would I do? I would get into sales, man. Get back into a product that that I enjoy and that is like a higher ticket item, and just go from there. Get into a good culture, a good leader, be around a good leader and get into a culture, getting in there and just start to, rebuild myself right back up. And then all the systems are already, the knowledge is there. So eventually you'll get where you need to get to. So I think that's what I will, that's what I would do. Just get into a high ticket item, and get in with a good leader and a good coacher, because obviously I wouldn't have money to pay a coach. So I will start working for somebody that's a good leader and it's a good coach and that has some success. And naturally, you'll get to where you need to get to.
Love it. Well, where can people find you, man?
Yeah, people could find me in they could Google my name, Jimmy Esparza. So they'll find, you find me on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the other platforms. My favorite platform is Instagram. So you guys can send me a DM. Most of the time I reply to the DMs as much as I can, or else somebody from my team, but they could Google my name and they could DM me through Instagram and most likely will reply.
Boom. Love it, bro. Well, thank you so much, bro, man. This has been amazing. Just you over deliver, man. I knew it was gonna be fire, but you have over delivered. Any final words before we get out of here?
I'm grateful, man. Thank you. And thank you for doing this. This is you're also taking time out of your schedule, you're investing in marketing and everything that you're doing. I appreciate it. And I'm sure I hope everybody that's watching, appreciate it, send some love, some like and share it because we, just like you mentioned, you want to impact as much people as you can and for them to take something from what we talked about. And that's pretty much it, man. And God bless you guys all. I hope everybody, finds their purpose and we have a slogan that we say, we make, we like to make the impossible possible, and we believe other people are able to do it too. So,
Man, and there you go. There you have it, guys. And literally what he just said, make sure you guys screenshot anywhere that you're listening and tag him, tag me. We're going to reshare it. And let's get it, man. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Vamonos.
Used to be broke, now it's time to eat. Can't even pay your phone bill, talk is cheap. I done leveled up, now I'm out of your reach. I'm still going, still ain't reached my peak.
Gucci chocolates on my feet. Used to be broke, now it's time to eat. Gucci chocolates on my feet. Take a seat, you can't compete. Gucci chocolates on my feet. Used to be broke, now it's time to eat. Gucci chocolates on my feet.